Hi, welcome to another episode of Hot Takes with me, the Silver Fox. And it seems that an election tactic by the SNP has backfired spectacularly. This is an absolute outrageous, barefaced lie that they've been spreading, and now it's come back to bite them. They, the SNP, have said that the NHS in Scotland is under attack from the UK government, who will attempt to make it a two-tier system. And that's fine if that was in any way true. It isn't, of course. However, what's worse is that a doctor working within the NHS in Scotland has come out and said that it's actually the SNP and their direct policies that are pushing the two-tier system unwillingly and unwittingly onto the Scottish NHS and the people of Scotland. Now, you've got a man working in the organisation saying that. Who are you going to believe? Some bullshitting politician at Holyrood or doctors working at the pointy end of the NHS? I know where I'm putting my money. But apparently the SNP has now been left a bit humiliated by this. This general election lie, you could call it, I suppose, this campaign tactic or whatever, has been exposed as complete and utter rubbish. And they've now come into criticism for it from, ironically, both the Conservatives and Labour, neither of whom say they've got plans to privatise the NHS. However, figures show that private medicine in Scotland is growing faster than anywhere else in Britain. And I hear you all going, but do tell, why's that? Well, of course you're not saying that because you know, like I do, full well why Scottish private healthcare is increasing. It's because the Scottish NHS is so appallingly bad, with the worst wait times, with people sitting in ambulances for 72 hours in car parks waiting to get into A&E. And with, 1/5 of the population now waiting on the NHS waiting list? Of course people are going to go private. Why shouldn't they? Because in reality, no main party is claiming, of course, that they want to go private. But that's their claims. It is the SNP who have got, and have had for 17 or 25 years, complete control over the NHS. 17 of those 25 years directly controlled by the SNP. And so if there's any problems with the NHS, it ain't Labour, it ain't Tories, it ain't anyone at Westminster, is it? You need to look closer to home, dear chaps. Anyway, on his speech today, there's a doctor called Ian Kennedy. Now, he is the chairman of the BMA in Scotland, and he says that the winter pressures that are now here for 365 days a year. He says there's no such thing as a winter pressure anymore. It's a perma pressure. Wards are full. The waiting list is there. There aren't enough nurses, doctors, resources. And it isn't getting better. He says, and the problem, of course, is without those resources, and you keep bringing more and more people into the system, something's got to give. And the NHS is finally crumbling. And that, of course, is why so many people are going into private medicine. They look at the NHS and they just see this, how would we describe it, perma crisis, this constant inability to fulfill the needs of the people. And so what do? They've got no option. They either suffer, or if they've got the wherewithal, they go privately. And that, of course, is why you're getting this two-tier service now. But people are at the wit's end. If they're in pain, they're in desperation, what are they going to do? But these figures, this massive uplift and that, I think it shows the truth about the failings across the board in the NHS at every level. And the failing, of course, of government in terms of picking up and dealing with it and running with the problem and trying to sort it out. Because they don't really want to. It's not within their plans. They'd rather spend money on pretendy embassies than actually trying to sort out the needs of people. They have the option, of course, of building a new hospital in Fort William, and they decided, nah, let's not do that. That might make people lives slightly less miserable. We don't want that. And of course, it doesn't help that you have a whole series of, all I can say is either criminal or moronic health secretaries, because you've got currently now Gray, who just literally hasn't got a clue what he's doing, way out of his depth. A man who had a very small department that didn't deal with people, now to the biggest department that's people oriented. He doesn't got a clue to do that. Before you had that, you had Matheson, the fraudulent tosser off of things in Moroccan, the old Moroccan fondler, rather, who puts in his fraudulent claims and lies and drops his family in it. And before that, you had Hamza. Before that, you had Freeman, and so on and so on. It's a whole series of people ill-suited to the role. So, of course, for 17 years, the NHS has just circled the drain and is not now worth even considering if you've got anything wrong with you. If you can afford private medicine, go bloody private. It's perilous, isn't it? But the doctors within now, and not just the doctors, nurses, staff, ancillaries, everyone within the NHS is saying how bad it is and how unsolvable it is without vast amounts of money going in. Now, you've got the Tory guy, oh God, name of him, Sandesh Gillane. He sits on the Tory benches there for the MSP. He's an MSP for the Tories, and get it right way round. And he said the problem you've got is this very low-level workforce. You can't keep and retain staff. You can't hire staff because nobody wants to work in the Scottish NHS. And so the ones that are there are getting overworked, stressing, and then having to go off with stress. And that's on one side. And then the fact is, on the other side, you're not making the investments into it to make life better. He says the people of Scotland are paying the price. And they're paying the price for SNP mismanagement for 17 long, miserable years. And then the SNP come out and say, oh, but look, the parties that aren't running Scotland, the parties that don't have any control over the Scottish NHS, are making it a two-tiered system. Bullshit. Absolute bullshit. And they should be ashamed of themselves, not only for what they've done to the NHS, but for making these outrageous BS claims. Scottish NHS is dying on its arse, and unless someone is willing to come in, invest vast amounts of money, hire loads of people, and make sure that they're not taxed to smithereens, it isn't going to improve. Anyway, thanks for listening. A bit of a rant, that one, but if you do need to go to hospital, maybe worth considering driving south and going into an English hospital. You may get seen. Anyway, till then, take care. Goodbye.